evening, everyone. My name is Pankaj Sehgal. I'm one of the trustees of Lighthouse Trust. And it has been, of course, an overwhelming week. It's just started, actually. But it's already quite overwhelming, and it's a big event that we have had at COP28. I know that it's also been a little bit of controversies, a few challenges, but I think all of it is good because at the end of the day, it's bringing on that realization that something needs to be done. And all of us who are here are, I think, architects of this change. And it's something very, very exciting, very interesting. And I hope that we all will succeed. Some of you I have met before. I see Mr. Mahmood, who's sitting here with me. And we had some interesting discussions. And one of the things that he told me was that the one thing that we cannot give up is hope. I think that's a very important word, hope. If we give up, if we say, well, we are just too far gone, there's too much of plastic, there's too much of pollution, there's too many problems, then I think we are giving up. I think all of us who are here and who were there at the COP every day, coming in and talking about things, trying to make that change happen, I think it's a very, very important and critical step. I would like to call on Maya Groff, our co-host tonight, and all that she has been doing or as part of bringing this change through the Climate Governance Commission, Johan Falk, and my own partner, Relitsa Ivanova. She's also one of the trustees and co-founders at Lighthouse Trust. And of course, we want to invite Kate Brandt from Google. And I think it's a very, very important organization. And these are the organizations that are going to bring this change forward. So please welcome all of you to the stage here. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you so very much, Pankaj. And because I know, Kate, you're on a tight schedule, Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. What a lovely evening.
Need no introduction, but Chief Sustainability Officer at Google. Of course, we probably all look at Google a number of times every day.
I'm going to get here this evening.
Exactly. So we have a few questions for you to share what Google is up to. So firstly, what would you say are Google's most impactful activities for reducing emissions? What are the most exciting projects you have in the works?
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you so much for having me this evening. And Johan, it's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much to you and the Exponential Roadmap team for being such wonderful partners for many years now. And I hope everyone's having a good COP, and it's nice to be outside and have the moment to get to reflect a little bit. So let me share with you a little bit about what we're doing at Google. We see a really unique opportunity to utilize both information and innovation to accelerate climate progress. And so a lot of the work we're doing is looking at how do we enable individuals, businesses, cities, and organizations to accelerate their climate progress through our technology. And so you mentioned, that we may have used Google Maps to get here this evening. A great example of the kinds of things that we're doing to put that information in people's hands are things like eco-friendly routing. That's that little green leaf that you may have seen show up in your Google Maps recently. That's showing you the most fuel-efficient route if it doesn't already have the same ETA. And that's having real-world impact in terms of avoided emissions perspective. We estimate that since we brought this feature to market in October 21, it's enabled 2.4 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent to be avoided. That's like taking about 500,000 fuel-based cars off the road. Also, when we think about our partners, we've done a lot of work with cities. I know there was a big cities summit here a couple of days ago. We may even have cities represented here in the room, but cities represent about 70% of global emissions. So for many years, we've been working with Global Covenant of Mayors, C40, to put helpful information in the climate action planning. That's tools like our Environmental Insights Explorer that has insight about the solar potential of rooftops, where cities can plant trees to deal with urban heat island effect, and much more. So we're seeing real world examples like the city of Austin being treated vulnerable communities to enable them to deal with heat island effects. And then I think just also important to note, of course, that we've always believed it starts with how we operate our business. And that's something that is very, very important to us. And so we've have a long history of setting bold goals for ourselves. And right now we're working towards, in partnership with Johan and the Race to Zero, an absolute reduction of our emissions by 50% by the end of this decade, and also looking to carbon removals to take care of the rest. And we're also very passionate about 24/7 carbon-free energy. I was sharing with Johan before we came on stage. We were part of a great announcement today with our partners at UN Energy for the 24/7 Compact, where we're working with cities, with national governments, and with other businesses that have set this bold goal to actually operate on carbon-free energy every hour of every day. And today, the U.S. government joined us in that compact. So that's a few of the things we're working on right now that we're excited about.
Fantastic. Very, very exciting. And we're starting, in fact, a new arid cities network to share policies, accelerate for underserved arid cities in those environments. So we'll be looking to look at these Google tools. That's fantastic. And fantastic also that you're a leader in Johan's ecosystem. And we'll hear more about the business playbook later, that's the amazing tool that they've developed. Wonderful. So second question for you is really about the digitalization and AI revolution. How can these developments that sort of support climate action and solutions, reducing of emissions? What are you forecasting in that respect for the future?
Yes, indeed. So just before we came to COP, we published a piece of research with BCG that was looking at exactly this. What is the opportunity of AI to help enable and accelerate the technologies and solutions that we already have today? And what the report found is that there's an opportunity for a 5 to 10% reduction in emissions by 2030. So right now, in this decisive decade that we need to be so focused on, where AI can enable the existing tools and solutions we have. And that kind of high end, that 10% reduction, that's equivalent to the emissions of the European Union. That's a really meaningful contribution. And then we also looked at in this paper some of the major opportunity spaces, and those are around information. How do we use AI to unlock insights that can enable action to move more quickly? That's things like fuel efficient routing, that example from Google Maps I just gave you. Also optimization. This is really the superpower of machine learning, our ability to optimize systems to reduce emissions, to reduce fuel consumption, to reduce natural resources. A really exciting recent breakthrough we've had is a partnership with Breakthrough Energy and American Airlines, where we were using AI to look at aviation emissions. We know this is a hard to abate sector. A lot of the solutions to decarbonize aviation are going to take a long time to deploy, whether that's aviation biofuels or hydrogen fuel cells. But actually, a third of the global warming impact of aviation is coming from contrails, those white plumes you see in the sky behind jets. And those can be reduced by giving pilots recommendations for changing their altitude to avoid the creation of a contrail. So in this pilot with Breakthrough Energy and American Airlines, we showed you could reduce contrails by half just with those simple recommendations that were AI enabled. And that's the kind of thing that's getting me really excited, that you could potentially take a third of aviation emissions and reduce them this decade in a really low cost way. And then the third area we pointed to in terms of the opportunity space is around prediction. This is especially powerful when we're looking at the impacts of climate change that we're already experiencing today. And one area that we've been very focused on for some time is riverine flooding. Riverine flooding is increasingly impacting millions of people around the world. And our Google research team built a global hydrologic model that now enables us to predict riverine flooding 7 days in advance. And then through a platform called Flood Hub, we can make freely available to communities and to individuals information about when flooding might occur in their community. And we saw in Chile, there was really bad flooding in August, and this tool was enabling communities to get people out of harm's way. So those are some of the AI applications that are really giving us.
Excellent. Yes, amazing about aviation, both in mitigation this decisive decade, but also the adaptation and handling the effects, which will just unfortunately be inevitable now. Climate change before we really bend. So last question, Kate, for you before you have to run off, is about COP28. What are your hopes and expectations for this COP in particular?
Yeah, so at Google, my colleagues have been attending the COPs for many years. I think this is my third COP on behalf of Google, but we always like to come first to support strong outcomes in the negotiation. We do think that voice of business is really important, but also to share these kinds of insights like the ones we've been talking about. What is that role of technology in enabling cities, governments, businesses, and accelerating their progress? So I actually heard on a session the other day that I was in around AI that we might even see AI mentioned in the text as a new opportunity space for climate. So we're following that, and that's an important role we play. And then also, I talked a little bit about 24/7 carbon-free energy. We know that grid decarbonization is such a big piece of the puzzle, again, this decade with the technology solutions we have, and then continuing, of course, beyond 2030. And so I have to say I've been really quite heartened by some of the progress there, the tripling of clean energy by 2030, as well as seeing progress around other, baseload carbon-free energy solutions. There was a, pledge around tripling nuclear by 2050. There's been work around fusion. So I've seen really positive momentum in terms of 24/7 carbon-free energy. And then also methane. I think until recently, methane was not something people are paying attention to, although it's actually something at Google we've been working on since 2011 when we first teamed up with the Environmental Defense Fund to put methane sensors on the Google Street View cars, the cars that create Google Maps. And yesterday I had the honor of joining the methane ministerial as kind of one of the only private sector voices there to talk about work that we're doing through our philanthropic arm, through the Global Methane Hub, to use data to better identify methane leaks and to make progress on the methane pledge. So I'm seeing some bright spots for sure.
Wonderful. That's great. Some very positive trends that need to be accelerated, mainstreamed, but very good to hear. So we know you have to run. So thank you so much again for joining us.